In this demonstration, we are going to delve into standard web parts and build a working example. So here I have an empty web part that I have just created in Visual Studio, and it has provided for me the create child controls overridden method. And in create child controls, I can start adding ASP.NET controls, such as in this case a very simple literal. And I'm going to call this message, and in its constructor put a very simple hello world welcome message. Notice I can format it as HTML styles if I please. Critically, I must add my ASP.NET control to the controls tree, and this will ensure that it gets rendered, but would also allow the control to participate in server-side events and so forth. I can right-click my project and choose Deploy, and Visual Studio packages and deploys my web part to my SharePoint site. So let's switch to SharePoint and go to the home page. And from there I can go to my test web part page. Very simply by clicking a few links, I can then edit the page and insert a web part. And I will locate my new web part that's in the custom category. There it is. I will click add and it gets loaded to the page and is rendered already. But when I click save, that's the view that the normal user will get. This is all very simple, so I will build a more compelling user interface now. I will remove my label control and add a block of code that works with the date time control and query and so forth. So let's have a look at this in a bit of detail. The first thing I will do is declare a class level variable which is a list view by query type, and I will call it my custom view, and we will use that in our create child controls method. The first thing we do is create an SP web object, and then we instantiate a Microsoft.SharePoint.WebControls.DateTime control. So this is something provided by the SharePoint object model. We set some properties and then we start working with the web. So we have the this web object set to the current web, and then we can start working with the DateTime control as well. So we will hook up an event for when the user changes the selected date. Critically, we add the DateTime control to the control tree, and then as you can see, we start working with the list view by query. So we first of all set its list property to tasks, and then we set its view fields and query to a CAML or collaborative application markup language filter to apply to the list. Down in my date time control date changed event, we can redefine that query so that it uses the currently selected date. So the CAML is very straightforward, and you will see much more CAML throughout the rest of this course. So let's save and redeploy it. Our existing solution is retracted and this one is added. And when I switch to Internet Explorer and refresh the page, our new user interface will appear when the page refreshes. There we are, we have our date time picker control, and we can see how easy it is to use. It's very straightforward. The user can click the drop down and choose the selected date, and when the date changes we redefine the query for the list view. So very simply the user can filter their due tasks in this case. So let's choose a few different dates and see a few different views of our data. There we have our filtered list being updated. Let's take a look at the actual tasks, and we can see the physical due dates there.